Good morning and welcome to Oral History BHP 2013. We have been doing these oral histories 53, 63, 73, 83, 93, 2003, and now we are to 2013. And we're delighted to have everybody here and to share with you the amazing Black Hills Playhouse. This will be the last Zoom oral history we do before the reunion, and we may start again after the reunion, depending on how things go. So I would what I need to do is try to fill you in on the history that happened between 2003, which was our last oral history, and 2013. And this is monumentally a very confusing and con a very difficult time for the Playhouse in a lot of reasons. There are three main themes that run through these 10 years. The first is that there's a change in leadership and administration. In this 10 years, there were five different executive directors. The second theme is that the Playhouse was being challenged by the state of South Dakota to upgrade the BHP facilities, and there was a governor's task force formed without anybody from the BHP board being invited to join. There were letters from Governor Rounds that actually with that closed the camp in 2010. And in spite of the themes of changing leadership and all the upgrades and the governor's task force and all the letters back and forth, each time the show must go on is the prevailing brilliance of theater. So we start in 2003. Jan Swank is the managing artistic director. Jill Swank is the business manager. 2004, sadly, our advocate, Dean John Day, retires as the Dean of the College of Fine Arts from USD and is replaced, and a real advocate for the Playhouse and for arts, was replaced by Dan Guyette. And then the next year, 2005, we have the 60th anniversary Playhouse reunion, which is a great success. Lots of people go attend. And from 2006 to 9, they're providing quality productions, and but in spite of the monumental debt that's the Playhouse had and the dramatic twists which begin in 2006. Ruth Brennan wrote the updated book called The Dream Lives On, and most of this is from her book, and she calls it Twists. The twist began in 2006. Twist of Fate, I called it. So 2006, the USD board, University of South Dakota, and the board of the BHP changed the staffing structure and eliminate the managing artistic director position and create two new jobs, two new positions, executive director and artistic director. This means that Jan and Jill Swank are out of jobs. And this also means there's great consternation in how this was done, and there's kind of a split in the whole Playhouse alumni. And however uncomfortable the change was for many, it forced the board of directors and the university into immediate action in order to produce a 2007 summer season. And otherwise, they would have had to go dark for the first time in 60 years. So there were a lot of bad feelings, and there was a big debt. And despite having no staff and deeply in debt, they hired Dean Guyette hires Dr. Bruce Halverson as the executive director, who happened to be the right person at the right time. We owe him great thanks. And Dan Workman was hired as the part-time artistic director. They began working on fixing the finances and moving forward with the season. By the year's end, Halverson had retired over $100,000 of the debt, And without this financial progress by him and the expertise of much of the Playhouse members and staff, the Playhouse would have folded, and this would have been 2007. So then the BHP was notified that they could no longer use the old CCC buildings, that a new sewer system must be improved, or else they must relocate. Governor Rounds again names a task force on the future of the BHP and again doesn't invite anyone from the board to be part of it. In April, a challenge of opening the season with no support facilities, a political reality of not overloading the sewer system, serious financial concerns, working with the state task force on the future, and a whole different season than was advertised. They were going to do Dolly and Chicago, but they didn't have the money nor they couldn't do it. So that they were producing a season that they hadn't even advertised. And in spite of all that, thank goodness the Playhouse Board and the University of South Dakota president, Jim Abbott, affirmed their support of the BHP. Thank goodness. So 2007 happened. They rehearsed all over. They cleared up a lot of the debts. A lot of wonderful people helped through the struggle. And then they got the task force brought another twist from Governor Rounds. And the questions that Governor Rounds brought was, is it possible or practical for the Playhouse to stay in the current location? And is there interested in moving it elsewhere, which started the whole Black Hills Playhouse area into uh, talks and decisions about what's going to happen to the Playhouse. If they stayed in the Playhouse, they must fix the sewer system, the heating and cooling, and have a long-term business plan. Another twist, Governor Round requests a payment right then of $300,000 on a new septic system, in which of course they didn't have $300,000. And then the board looked into Forefront Design. They said they could do it for $35,000. Things kind of are on hold with the sewer system at this point. We get into the 2008 season. Michael Burgraff was hired as executive director. Dan and Deb continued to work as part-time artistic and business managers. Burgraff had a number of programs, bringing in a world premiere of Dreams Carved in Stone, brought a star in, brought in a country artist, tried a lot of different things in order to make money and bring the Playhouse, keep the Playhouse in the news, sort of thing. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. Financially, they were still strapped. 2009, Governor Rounds sends another letter asking for a viable and workable long-term business plan. And then the board begins working immediately on a business plan, a strategic plan, a 10-year financial plan, and they begin acting on those plans. They convert the housing unit into a costume shop. They add hearing assistant equipment to the theater. They add a heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems, purchase new mattresses, paint dorm rooms, and most of the costs were donated by donated labor and materials. Again, the area comes to help the Playhouse survive. And then a third letter was arrived in April by Governor Rounds questioning the viability of the business plan, and he would not commit to entering into a long-range, long-term lease with the BHP, and the lease would be expiring the end of 2009. And they would not help pay for the sewer system or any of the infrastructure updates. But on a personal level, I would like to see the Playhouse continue, said Governor Rounds. Well, the board responded with 3 points. We revised the business plan and advised the governor of the improvements that were made to the campus and the operation. 2, they decided to go public and with their concerns and with this new relationship with the state, which was not copacetic. And 3, they waited out the governor because the state had not complied with the contractual conditions of canceling the lease. So, with the election of only a year away, a new governor might be more supportive to the BHP. And in fact, a new governor was much more supportive. And then Jerry, and that is now, we are now to 2009. And Jerry Wheeler, the board president in 2010, remembers that he took the responsibility of being the board president when the Playhouse was essentially broke, no cash in the till, bad, or in some cases, no financial records existed. Thirdly, there was a new executive director was needed. The campus buildings needed repairs. The governor of the state had lost total confidence in the organization and would not renew the lease. And the Playhouse had developed a shaky relationship with the University of South Dakota, one of their most important business partners. So all that happened, but yet the strong board continued to work forward on their plans. They had lots of fundraisers all over in all sizes. The bankers and people volunteered to help. They either faced going dark or, and then, let's see, so they, in 2010, a team of electrical and plumbing inspectors came onto campus and descended on the Playhouse and condemned the dining hall and closed the entire campus for any use. So that was 2010. And the board had two choices: to go dark or to take the show on the road. And so the vote was far from unanimous, but the BHP returned to its roots and began a traveling theater company once again, which was incredibly difficult. Three-show season, presented three different locations in the Black Hills: Custer and Hill City High School and Home State Opera House in Lead. They informed Burgraff in June that his contract would not be extended. Burgraff was gone by the middle of the month. Don Schulte, a Playhouse board member, was hired as interim executive director. Well, they suffered through living at the company was housed in the vacated Pine Haven Senior Retirement Lodge on Highway 16 near Rockerville, and meals were provided in Hill City High School's home economics room, and rehearsals were at Pine Haven. And in their kitchen at Pine Haven had two stoves. One worked, and the one that worked had only one usable burner. Horrible summer. By the end of the opening of the third show, which was Little Shop of Horrors, they had an unbelievable hailstorm that did severe damage to all 15 vehicles, and money was lost by all the people that all company members, and they weren't alone. The Playhouse lost money, and the board members and the board members and patrons stepped up and helped everybody get to all their assigned theaters, and they got through the season, but it was miserable. Then by the end of that season, the board voted unanimously to return to Custer State Park campus in 2011. Whew. Like a phoenix rising, the Playhouse emerged from the embers to a fully operational theater on the Custer State Park campus for the 2011 season. In the season of 2011 was the removal of the old CCC buildings. Construction for a new building began, and the theater was made code compliant. And by July, there was a new dining hall. Okay. What?
Hired Linda.
And that's when they hired Linda, exactly. And newly elected Governor Dennis Doggart put his stamp on approval of the Playhouse by kicking off the fundraising camp challenge in order to meet the legislature's lease requirements. And the 3-year lease between the state and the Playhouse was signed with the stipulation that the theater be brought up to code and the dining hall built by the summer of 2011, which it was. And then they smartly hired Linda Anderson as executive director, and many programs were developed by Anderson and Workman: room service, kids go free, bringing playhouse facilities into the current code compliance, cleanup and removal of the buildings, and they didn't have to go dark. They survived. 2012, in March, the finance chair, Ken Bauman, reported that the Playhouse was debt-free and had strong assets and few liabilities. Yay. After that great 6-year struggle. Gifts and services from all around were received at the Playhouse. The occupation of the old dining hall was allowed to be used as a costume shop and permitted until the 2013 lease was agreed in their agreement. The BHP AA had party pieces, which raised $25K for a new grand drape. Jeff Kingsbury and I opened the first dinner with friends in Hot Springs, and Colleen and Jeff followed those up with dinner with friends in Rapid, Sioux Falls, Pier, Brookings, Custer, which helped raise $120,000. There was a second sewer system proposal, which was thought about but rejected. Jason Reuter was promoted to operations manager, and Ingrid Johnson was to business manager. Dan Workman continued as artistic director. And in 2013, which is the year we're finally at, there was new stage rigging, and stage drapes were installed in the theater. And it was the same year that the support from Governor Dagard and the operations manager, Jason Reuter, executed a unique and innovative partnership with the South Dakota National Guard, which raised the costume shop structure in 10 days. And the Box Elder Job Corps program finished the majority of the building's interior, and 2013 started, and the Playhouse was on much better foundation with Linda, and things were moving forward. Whew. Tough, tough years, 2006 through 2013. And with this amazing "the play must go on" history, I turn this over to the fabulous, talented, and delightful Mark Norberg, and he will take it from here. And thank you all.
Thank you, Jenny May. Wow. Yes, but the story has a happy ending because of out of all those years of turmoil arose what we're going to talk about on today's show, which I think, I'm not speaking out of turn here, is widely regarded as the greatest summer the Blackfield Playhouse ever did. And we've invited some of the luminaries that were responsible for that on today's show. So, guys, don't have it because as Jeff Kingsbury always says, if it's true, it's not bragging. So don't hold back. Okay. But welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. We're going to start off with some quick introductions. Oh, I do want to just kind of give a recap about, this is all for the 80th anniversary of the amazing Black Hills Playhouse. And this is going to be an event. It's July 24th through the 26th. Friday night, if you can arrive early, there'll be a mixer at the Mount Rushmore Brewing Company, but it's Saturday where all the fun happens. There'll be a lunch. We're watching the show Come From Away, and I believe Sarah's involved with that. Will tell us about that. There'll be an alumni show, and then a night before Christmas buffet with an auction and toast. I'm hoping Jeff will be our auctioneer. Is that
He is, of
He's
course.
our scheduled auctioneer. Please go to the Black Hills Playhouse Alumni Association website for all the details and your tickets, etc. And with that, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. If you'll tell us your name, what were you doing in 2013 with your life, and where are you now? And then we'll dive more into the BHP. So I'll just call on you as I see you. Sarah, I kind of see you first on my screen. You want to tell us what were you doing in 2013, and what are you doing now?
Hi, I'm Sarah Ice. In 2013, I was a senior lecturer at the University of Nebraska Kearney with Darren Hemrick, who is also an alumni of the BHP. And he actually introduced me to Dan, which is how I then came to design the costumes for Children of Eden that summer. Since then, I have had two other jobs. So I'm currently an assistant professor of design at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque.
Awesome. Great to see you again, Sarah. Let's see, Kasia, you want to go next? What were you doing in 2013? Where are you now?
Yeah, so in 2013, I was a sophomore. I had just finished my sophomore year at Viterbo University in La Crosse, Wisconsin, in a BFA in musical theater. And I was actually leaving the school to transfer. And in that time, since then, I started working in arts administration as well. And I'm out of Minneapolis, and I work as a fundraising professional currently at the Minnesota Opera and a freelance director at several Twin Cities theaters.
Ooh.
Awesome. Fantastic to see you, Kasia. Jeff Kingsbury, hello. What were you doing in 2013? Where are you now?
So in 2013, one of the things I was doing is going to ACTF in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is where Dan was introduced to Sarah Ice, and I was standing right next to him when that happened. Um, that's my claim to fame, Sarah, because look, you keep coming back, so that's wonderful. And in fact, she designed Children of Eden in that summer, right? And that was show that was my first directing there. I had been for a number of years a fundraising professional. I was an auctioneer traveling all over the country. And in fact, in 2012 and 13, that was my only job. Um, and I, in 2012, I auditioned for the Playhouse and came out. So now they can't get rid of me. And I have done every season except for 2017. And I am currently and have been for the last 4.5 years the development director here at the Playhouse.
Awesome. Great to see you, Jeff. Oh my gosh. I'm Mark
You
Norberg.
too.
I'm Mark Norberg. In 2013, I was in the middle of a career shift. I had been working in the advertising department of the LA Times for 20 years, and I had gone, I can't take it anymore. And I had gone back to school to get my English degree, and I was just wrapping up my credential program. And I'm like, oh my God, I have my summers off. I can go back to the Black Hills Playhouse. And I'm like, well, let's see. And I realized, oh, Dan Workman, who was in the company when I was last at the Playhouse 20 years prior, so I'd been out there right in college. I emailed Dan. It's like, Dan, I will do anything. I will scrub toilets. I don't care. They ended up sentencing me to the ticket booth, which was fine. And he let me in a show. So I was wrapping up a credential program, super stoked. So I was in the middle of change, and it was like the best thing that could have happened. Just
Oh.
being with my people and out in the hills, and coming back, and it was really extraordinary. And when I say, it was the greatest year ever, I'm only half kidding because, as I said, I'd been out at the hills 20 years prior with Jan and Jill, and we did fantastic shows. I did 2 summers, but I remember coming back and knowing about all this drama and in the back of my head, kind of what got me through my really low points in sales was the Black House Playhouse is out there somewhere, right? And one day I'm going to go back. And then I started hearing in my clothes, and I can't tell you what that meant. I mean, it was like this darkness. I'm like, this thing that I had, and I remember coming back and seeing Linda and the new team, and I'm like, we are in good hands. And the people that were out there were so talented. I mean, we upped our game. We had amazingly talented people 20 years ago, but the crew that was there from top to bottom, I'm like, okay, we're safe. We're safe. So I'm so glad to see everybody here. We talked about it a little bit, but I want to just, in case you didn't mention, so what brought you to the Playhouse in the first place? So mine was I'd been out 20 years prior in college. I went to USD, and USD obviously has a huge connection. So I was constantly hearing about the Black Hills Playhouse. And in fact, when I was a child in Sioux Falls in grade school, we had a community theater there, and Jan and Jill were the artistic directors of the Sioux Falls Community Playhouse. So I had met them briefly. I was leaving just as they came in. So I kind of knew who they were. Jan comes out to do auditions. I'm like, this is great. I'm in. So that's what brought me. It was almost like this natural flow. Sarah, you said you met Jeff, right, and Dan at one of these sort of big regional auditions. Had you heard about the Playhouse before? What drew you? Did had it been on your radar? Like, what was your initial connection with what brought you out to the Playhouse?
Sure. I started teaching at the University of Nebraska Kearney in 2008, which is where I met Darren Hemrick, and he and his wife actually met at the Black Hills Playhouse when they were in college, and so they had talked about their experiences there, and just part of the things you have to do as a professor is you have to do outside work. So I was looking for my next outside summer gig, and we were at the American College Theater Festival with students in Lincoln, Nebraska, as Jeff said. And so at that point, and I ran into Dan and Jeff and made the introductions. And, I said, hey, I'm looking for a summer gig. And so I emailed Dan, and he offered me the position as costume designer for Children of Eden. And I said, I'm in. I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but sure, sounds like fun. I like the woods.
And we got our hooks in you.
Well, and that was the thing. I mean, that was the last year in the pseudo costume shop in the old like commissary, right? So it wasn't a great building, but people just had such great energy. They were there to do a job, but they enjoyed doing it, right? So we're in this beautiful environment, I get to do what I love to do with some really great people.
Had you been out to the Black Hills before, Sarah?
I mean, as a kid, yeah. I mean, we went out to see Mount Rushmore and did the, whole panning for gold thing, but I think I was like 8 at the time. So I don't.
So you had a little bit of a taste of what kind of the environment was like as you drove out there. Because it's an experience. Those of you know what I'm talking about, that drive.
Yeah.
Playhouse, so that like nervousness. I get this knot in my stomach as I'm doing those twisty roads. Hey, it's Emily Cherry joining us. Emily, we're just talking about sort of what were you doing in 2013 and where are you now? And then what was like the initial like connection with the like what put Black Hills Playhouse on your radar? You want to tell us about your kind of journey from 2013 to now and how you got hooked up with this crazy group?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm late, y'all. So 2013 was my second year. That was the Secret Garden year, I think. And no, it wasn't.
Well, it's Boing Boing.
It's Boing Boing. Okay.
Forum,
Gotcha.
of Eden, and Hound of Baskervilles.
Gotcha. So I had never heard of Black Hills Playhouse, and Eric Hagen came to respond to a production of Urinetown that I had directed at the University of North Dakota, where I was faculty there, still am faculty, now chair. And apparently he liked it. Oh, thanks. Well, I don't know if that's a congratulations on being chair because it's just a bunch of crap work, but So anyways, he said, have you ever heard of the Black Hills Playhouse? And I said, no. And he said, well, he explained about it. And I said, well, it sounds great. And then I got an email from Dan saying, would you be interested in directing Boing Boing? And I said, absolutely. So that's kind of how I got connected. Got out there. I heard you all were talking about the roads to get there. Got 100% lost. Like, oh my God. So lost. But eventually made my way. And it was love at first sight. I feel like it was so beautiful to come into it. I just felt like, as a theater professional, I think community is so important. And that is something that the BHP just does so well. And it was an instant, and you could tell those that had been there for a while, they kind of knew the ropes. And then us newbies were figuring things out, and it was just so fun. And we had such a fun rehearsal process. And so yeah, it was a really great year. And I just thought, like, back in the back of my head, I was like, I would really like to come back. I hope they ask me back. But yeah, so that was kind of 2013 for me and my first year. And then fortunately they did ask me back. And yeah, it was a great year. And I didn't get to see a lot of the other shows because Boing Boing is the first one. And so I was in and out really quickly, but I had heard many things about them and stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, it's great to see you again, Emily. You're a huge luminary in the BHP
Oh, that's nice.
constellation of stars. I remember you right away, like, oh my gosh, who's this? Who's this person? I got to get to know her. Kaja, what was your first kind of connection with the BHP? How did you find out about it? What led you to decide to audition?
Yeah, so my grandparents have lived in Custer since the 80s,
Ah,
and they owned a restaurant in town. So I grew up going to the Playhouse,
what restaurant? Sorry.
Cattleman's previously, and now it's a brewery, I think, if I remember correctly. But and they also owned the Cowboy Motel and restaurant as well. So I grew up going to the Playhouse and I loved it. And as a theater kid, it was like the best part of staying at my grandparents' house. And then I was at school with Paige Howard, who I know we're going to hear from a little bit later. But we were in school together, and she was out in a show the year before in 2012. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go see Paige in a show. And that was kind of my reintroduction to the Playhouse as an actual college student. And I was like, oh my God, I have to get out there. And so the next year at MWTA's, the good old Midwest theater auditions, I auditioned, and I don't exactly remember how I did it, but I don't know that I got a callback, but I somehow talked to Dan and was like, you got to let me do a callback for you. Like, I really want to be there. And I was like, I will work in your box office. I will do whatever you want me to do. I will assist at choreograph. And Dan said yes. And I did a callback for him and he hired me. So the rest was Kismet. And yeah, I came back and directed in 2022 was Something Rotten, I think. And so that was my kind of my first professional directing gig too. So it's been a really monumental place for me in my theater career.
Kaja, I'm so glad you brought that up because I was thinking in my head, I think Kaja's grandparents, but I didn't want to say anything because I'm like,
Yes.
it wasn't Kaja, somebody at the Playhouse, but I remember going. I think it was the
Yes.
Cowboy restaurant. You took us out and your grandparents feted us. It was so awesome. Like how magical to grow up in Custer with a
Yeah.
restaurant and a hotel. It just was so cool. And you talk about that sense of family
Yeah.
because of the small town, like everybody knows everybody. There's people they leave for 10 years, come back. There's these connections. It feels like there's always everybody's got some kind of connection. I'm really glad you brought that up because I have very fond memories of going into
Yeah.
Custer
Yeah.
to go to that restaurant to get something to eat. Jeff, what about you? You talked a little bit about your connection, but I feel like I'd heard about you forever. And like what was the very first connection and how did you get hooked up with Blake Playhouse? I feel like we could do a half an hour on this, but what's the legend and the history of Jeff's coming on to the BHP?
Some clarifications. I also met Emily the same conference that I met Sarah Ice. So there was that. Paddleman's is now Mount Rushmore Brewing Company, which is where you're having your reception on the first night of the reunion, owned by Playhouse alum Janet Boyer. Um,
Who
so
grew up
how
in
that
Hot Springs.
grew up
That's
in Hot
amazing.
Springs. And every time I see her, how's Jenny? She refers to Jenny May as Jenny. So, so in 1983, I was a student at Huron College in here in South Dakota. The year before that, I had been um, the Pink Garter Theater in Jackson, Wyoming, and there was a conference there, and I was offered a full ride after the performance by a very drunk financial aids officer, and I took it. So I went to college in Huron, and then I went to the Mid America Theater Conference auditions, and I was offered three contracts, but one of them was Black Hills Playhouse, and they were doing Hello Dolly, and all I ever wanted to do was play Cornelius Hackle, and in those days you auditioned for each show as it came up rather than knowing ahead of time, right? So I was cast um, as mostly old men that summer, only old men. I played um, Annie Mae's husband, David Bliss, in Hay Fever. That's my introduction to Playhouse audiences, and then I played Pooh Bah opposite Jenny Mae as her boyfriend in The Mikado, and then I played Horace Van de Gelder, Jenny Mae's boyfriend, in Hello Dolly. And then I spent the next 30 years trying to figure out how to get back. In 2002, Jenny Mae invited me to do a preseason curtain raiser with her. And I came out and did that on the condition that they made me a Comanche, which I was very gently explained to me that we don't call them Comanches anymore. I said, I don't care what you call them.
Was that
But
Little Night Music that you guys did?
that was, we did
Well, we
that for
did.
party pieces.
Okay, so that was later.
We did night music together, yes. Jenny Mae and I spent a lot of time in the intervening 30 years playing lovers. So,
And I still love him.
yes, and vice versa. So then in 2012, because they were doing party pieces, I happened to be down at Jenny Mae's and she was telling me about it. And I said, oh, gosh, I'd like to do that. And Anna Marie was in charge of it. And I wrote her an email in Jenny Mae's kitchen saying, you know, you probably got everybody. If you do something like this in the future, I'd love to be a part of it. I'd love to get back to the Playhouse. And she wrote me back in 2 minutes and said, oh, you're in. Please come and do it. So then I found out what the season was, which included The Drowsy Chaperone. That was 2012. And I really wanted to play Man in Chair. And I virtually begged Dan to hire me. He did not know me, and he did hire me. He took a risk on me, and now they can't get rid of me.
And I
So
said, you'd be a fool not to use Jeff as
yes, no,
manager.
Jenny. I asked Jenny Mae, would you write him an email and say, I mean, because he doesn't know me, which she did, and he did hire me. Um, so in 2010, I had asked Dan the previous year. They had that summer they announced the next season, which was going to include Forum and Children of Eden and Maury. And I really wanted to play in Tuesdays with Maury. I wanted to play Maury really badly. And I did a lot of meetings with Dan, convincing him that despite the fact that I was at the time 51 and Maury is 79, that I would give him a Maury that would be memorable. And then I said, I really want to play Hysterium in Forum. And he said, okay. That was in 2012. And he doesn't do that anymore, by the way.
No,
he makes me wait.
2013.
So 2012, he said, I asked
Oh.
him, and he said, okay. And then I said, and I have staged Children of Eden twice, and I would really like to direct it for you. And he said, okay. But he did not say okay to Maury until KCACTF in Lincoln, which is why I went to beg him to cast me as Maury in Tuesdays with Maury. And I used frequent flyer miles, and I had enough budget rental car miles that the trip cost me nothing. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go do that.
I wondered why you were there. That was the reason.
I actually stayed with the fight choreographer from Three Musketeers and his wife. He teaches fight choreography there at Lincoln. So it cost me, I'm not kidding, it was a free trip. So I went and I begged him. And it was, in fact, at Lincoln that he said, why don't you play Maury this summer? So I was like, woohoo, great trip. And so I had decided, honestly, when I came back in 2012, that I wanted to be in the same category as Jenny Mae, Donnell, and Damon Krall and Eric Johnson. I wanted to be one of the people that everybody knew who that was. And so I
And then he took over.
literally did a very targeted campaign to make that happen.
Oh my God. Well, this is a great segue because I got to perform with Jeff in his Hysteria makeup. So I thought to kick us off, we'll move into our what kind of special memories do you have of the Playhouse? Because I've got some doozies. We have a very special guest with a pre-recorded video that's going to share some of her memories, and then I want you all to think of what are some, in the show, out of the show, just that summer, what's something you remember that's like you just can't get it out of your head, even though you might want to. All right, here we go. This is a very special guest. And can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Hello, BHP friends and family. I miss everyone so much. My name is Paige Hauer, and I was a hired actress for the 2013 BHP season. I got to play some incredible roles with my time at the BHP throughout multiple seasons, but 2013 was great. I played Eve in The Children of Eden, directed by Jeff Kingsbury. Jeff taught me everything I know, honey. Let's be real. Also, I got to play Bert in Boeing, which is a farce. I love how BHP has such a great range of genres in the plays that they choose and the musicals. I mean, you get everything. So great for the ticket holders, subscribers, and I had the time of my life playing Bert for sure. Wonderful memories. I mean, Christmas in July, that's probably been mentioned already, but even just being in this nature, I mean, in that rehearsal space, that cabin that we all love so much. I don't even know if it's still there, but that cabin on the hill and just looking out the window and there's a bison walking by. I mean, it's just magical. There's so much tradition there. I am a proud buff and I just love being a part of this legacy at the BHP. I could go on and on. I actually recorded a video that was almost 4 minutes long, so I'm re-recording one. But I love you all so much. I miss everybody, all my castmates, the crew, administration, and just thank you to Dan and Deb, Jeff, Linda, and Mark. I mean, you all are just incredible people. Thank you for your trust over the years and just being a part of this family. And like I said, also this legacy. I'm currently living in Chicago, doing well. I'm still acting and singing and dancing, but man, do I miss performing on that stage, baby. It's a special place at the BHP. I love you all so much. Mwah!
Oh my gosh, how great is that, right?
I love Paige. Oh my God.
Unbelievable talent. Unbelievable talent. So let's just random memories, right? And I want to start with Emily Cherry. Emily, I have 2 words for you. Apple bottom. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Did we lost Jeff apparently? Oh God. I'm gonna let you tell that story, Mark.
Do you remember? Do you know what I'm referring to? It's okay to say I have no record because you will once I remind you.
Okay, remind me.
Sorry, I nearly choked to death when you said apple bottom.
Okay.
So.
It's nothing. It's completely G-rated. It sounds really bad. So we just had such a creative crew. And on top of the shows and the, going and building the props and the costumes and all the things we had to do, we would just do these extra activities. We did a film festival.
Oh!
Are you remembering?
The regatta!
Alfred Hitchcock Film Festival.
One thing we decided was a regatta. Let's, on top of everything else, let's build boats and race them down the stream that goes right through camp.
Yes.
And I think you won, right? Didn't you guys win with your?
Yes,
Okay.
we did, and
So,
partnered with Paige Hauer.
What is apple bottom, Emily? So that people don't think there's some weird thing between us.
So, we had a regatta, which means you have to take your boat, and I use that term loosely, and race it down the creek. But you have to use it has to have three building components, all found in nature. So people were taking sticks and leaves and fastening things, and I don't build, y'all, but I know food. So, and I think it was Paige. Howard and I were partners. And so we cut the apple in half and scooped it out. We put some peanut butter in there because that was our second component. And then we stuck a leaf in it. And you know what? I'm just saying half an apple is buoyant and speedy.
Yeah, and you couldn't we had a starting place.
Uh-huh.
You just put the boats, and then it was like you had to let nature take its course. And that freaking apple like just zipped to the finish line.
Yes.
I was so mad. I don't remember what my boat was, but I was convinced we were going to win. And that apple just like anyway.
Done. Well, what's so funny is I was back in, I don't know, 2023 or something like that, and there was another regatta, and I was like, I got this, y'all. Apple bottom back. Here we come. Oh, that sucker lost like nobody's business. So it was just a freak thing in 2013. Let's just say
that. Sarah, any crazy memories that just strike you as here's this thing that happened in a show, out of a show?
I don't think I was only there for like 2.5 weeks, right? I was kind of in and out. So my focus was so much on the show. I fully remember that costume shop and like the nuances of like at one point there was a dead animal underneath it that like started to smell. And we're like, oh, how do we keep moving on? Who has to go take care of that?
And were you in the new costume shop at that point, or was it still like a temporary something, right?
Yeah, it was the old commissary because the costume shop building didn't get raised until the end of the summer. So we spent that whole summer in that old building. We didn't actually get to use the new building till the next summer.
Okay.
That was the old dining hall.
The old dining hall, yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
And they were like, don't go into that part of the building. The floor is not safe. And I went, cool.
Kaja, anything that crazy memories you remember?
Well, speaking of that, I remember we had Christmas in the like new costume shop guts because it wasn't quite done, but we did celebrate Christmas there that year. So that was really fun. Christmas in July, of course. Yeah, I remember that. I actually I was only supposed to be in one show that summer acting. I was working on other things, obviously, but I was supposed to be in Children of Eating with Jeff, and I was, but I had assistant choreographed for him. And I remember that our final dress, one of our Proteans sprained her ankle really badly. So I ended up swinging in for like 6 shows, which was not in the plans. So that was a crazy experience. But I was like the person who sort of knew the choreography and learned it quick enough. So that was probably the most memorable part of that summer for me. So it was crazy.
I remember that. Yeah, because that was the point where they were then working on Children of Eden. So
Yes.
I watched the show and yeah.
Yes, and
was
I had assistant choreographed with Deb, so I worked on it. But I jumped in.
I
and
raised a
crazy.
gigantic stink about that because they had to put her in, and that was all of the people involved with that were in rehearsal for Children of Eden. So we canceled Children of Eden rehearsal. And I tried to negotiate with Dan to give the evenings back because it's through Compose. And Kaja was actually one of the people who one night up on the hill, I was just joking around because we had a very convivial relationship and I lived on the campus at that time. And Kaja, who is as mild-mannered as you could possibly imagine, bursts into tears and says, we have to rehearse all the time. Do you have any idea how hard this music is? I was like, well, sorry. But I did know how hard the music was, but that put in. By the way,
but it was a really good show.
It was, and you were immediately brilliant. You knew everything. Of course, you assisted choreograph, but that's not the same as rehearsing.
Yeah.
Alone,
well, thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Just sort of on the fringes. Why? Yeah, I think I sort of remember what the Proteans do at that point. But anyway, that ended up being thrilling, and of course, it all worked out for Children of Eden. That was also quite good. So
Yeah.
Sarah that was her first show, and I had already met with Christian Boy, who was doing the set design, and we decided to do this sort of post-industrial treatment of the show. And so, when you could potentially be doing all these, for Noah, all of these wonderful robes and all of that kind of stuff. And I said, well, no, I kind of want everybody in these, like they're working in a factory in World War II costumes. And she was like, okay. And I just watched it because it is actually quite exceptional. And it looks so good. So, sometimes the musings of my mind work out well, but I have now I'm in Come From Away. I'm playing Claude, the mayor, this summer. So I will get to be costumed by Sarah again. And I have been costumed by her many times, and I love it when she's back in the campus.
I
And I'm
think
gonna miss Emily Cherry this summer.
2027, I'm back, baby.
Okay.
I just
With
emailed Dan and said,
with
can I please
Charlotte.
come back? Yeah,
With Charlotte. Yes.
probably. We'll see.
so. I think I also got to costume Jeff when he did his second appearance as Old Man in Chair for Drowsy Chaperone.
That's right.
But I think
But
some of my
you actually gave me costumes. The first costume designer did not. I used all of my own clothes.
yes, we've had that discussion. But I think I really enjoyed like some of the period stuff we've done together. Spamalot being one of my favorites, and then the costumes we put you in for Book of Will.
Oh my gosh. That was last summer, Mark Arbor. And honestly, I have so many favorites that I've done, but Richard Burbage and Ben Johnson in the Book of Will was just a remarkable experience all the way around. The costumes
Costumes
were
were beautiful.
I love
oh,
costuming Jeff because he gets into the fitting room and he makes sure that that costume does not wear him, that he wears the costume. I can pretty much throw anything at him.
Well,
and this is what I always say, because you talked about community, Emily. And when I go to the costume shop, I am not a costume designer. I am able to sew if someone else makes the machine be ready. Um, and I always praise the costume staff, always. I have never had a fitting, not one time ever at the Black Hills Playhouse, when I didn't thank the costume people for the work that they do. And that includes all of those interns who are stitchers. I just think that is a skill set that is so important to how production is presented, the aesthetic, of course, the lighting and the costumes and the set design, of course. But for an actor, being comfortable in what you're wearing and not having to constantly be thinking, oh, well, if I move my leg wrong, I'm going to split the ass out of this pair of pants because it's really too small. I just think such great care is taken to allow all of our, and it's not just Sarah, it's Amber, it's Christina, it's any of the Dean Mogul when I worked with him in 1983, Gary Richardson, all of those people who devote their lives to learning the engineering of how to make a costume, allow the actor to become that character and be comfortable in what they're wearing so that they can focus on what they're doing in here rather than what it feels like out here. So thank you, Sarah, for your good work.
Speaking of the
Was
costume,
that Charlotte? Was that Charlotte, Emily, that you just cushed?
No, it's my Great Dane, Rocky.
speaking of the costume shop and all the, everybody just chips in and does everything. I have when I came back, I was an original Comanche, right?
Right.
And he said, well, you're a buffalo now. And I said, what? And he go, but you need a hat. And I'm like, a hat? I'm acting and the tickets, I got to sell tickets. They go, bring us a hat, bring us a hat. And the costume shop put this together for me. And I cherish it every day. And I can't wait to come back and use this again. Um, I've mentioned talking about being in a show. Like when I was there, it was no joke. You had to audition at the Playhouse before each show, and there were people that came and worked crews all four shows as actors, they thought, and never got cast. So the whole like trans from when I'd sing, like I came back and like, okay, we're really upped our game, like, and getting things under control. The Oleos were started that year. And
2013.
I
2013.
I spent 20 years in advertising, and so I was working with Linda in the business office too, right? And we're all like, well, we got what can we do to make more money? And I'm always like, well, what about doing an oleo? Nobody wanted to do it. And I had to rehearse and audition the oleos in front of Dan and Linda, like that whole first year. They're like, I don't know. Everyone's like, no, this is gonna work. Anyway, so that's something I remember. And then the last thing I'll just mention is you had a lot of time in the ticket booth, right? And somebody was doing cross stitch backstage. I'm like, ooh, what's that? That looks fun. And they taught me how to cross stitch, and I cross stitched a little Mr. Spock, and we hung it up. I nailed it to the back wall of the ticket office. And Jeff would often come and insert himself into the ticket office when we were doing a show. And you may not know this about Jeff, but he's kind of competitive. And so I'd be at one window and he'd get another. And people would come up and go, oh, you were so great in Forum, Mark. You were in Forum. Like, yes, I was in Forum. I was in Forum. And that would just piss Jeff off. So then he'd stick his neck out the window and go, well, I was in Forum. And so we just said, okay, let's make this fair. We cannot bring it up, right? You can't bring up that you were in a show. That's not fair. So we had a little tally between us that no one could see, and it has his name and my name. And if somebody brought up that you were in a show, you got a little hatch mark. And it was okay, Jeff won, but only by a hair. But I have to say, we had to add a third column because Mr. Spock, more often than not, was the first thing that came up when people came to ask for tickets. So we're like, Spock got one. Anyway, that's a little memory I have, Jeff, of us working together. I see our time as we're at our hour. I want to wrap it up by just going around and asking.
I have to tell you.
Yeah.
Spock is still in the exact same spot on that wall. And it is not, I was the box office manager and I'm in charge of the customer service team, and they're not permitted to touch it.
That's so awesome. I wanted to just wrap things up with what has the BHP meant to you, right? What is at the end, when all is said and done, what does BHP mean to you? And any final thoughts about the 80th anniversary? And for those that are to come, thoughts about what is our legacy and what do we need to do moving forward? Anybody want to kick us off?
Well, Mark, first thing, you have to wear your hat. Bring your hat and have a big Christmas
now.
Yeah, to the reunion. And big Christmas
to the reunion. Yes. This anytime I come down to the Playhouse, this does not.
Well, you can Christmas it up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I'll start.
Okay, go ahead, Emily.
The Black Hills Playhouse. So I love my year in 1983, but in 2012 I was in a very difficult place in my life, and coming back to the Playhouse, honestly, I credit it with saving my life. It was that bad. And so I realized right away that what I wanted to do was do whatever I could do to help the Black Hills Playhouse have unfettered prosperity. And so that's why we started the Dinners with Friends. and why I applied for the job when it became available. I'm happy to say that we have now quite significant reserves, and
Yay!
our annual budget this year is $2 million, which is,
Yay!
gosh, golly gee, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
But before I'm 65, and I will stay until I drop. But when I leave, I want the Playhouse to never, ever have to go through any kind of a financial um, challenge ever again. And it doesn't need to, because you heard Jenny May talk about the our
Those
patrons who love us, and they want the Playhouse to thrive and prosper. And, in the wake of COVID, we saw major theater companies across the country shutter for good. They're gone. And a lot of, it takes 4 years really statistically for a theater company to get going. And but the legacy for me is that every single summer, of course, the dynamic is different, but the the people that I have met at the Black Hills Playhouse continue to be part of my life, whether that's following what their adventures are on Facebook, and every now and then I'll comment and say, "How are you?" Or I might shoot them a message, but I certainly give them a thumbs up. But to see, not certainly the young people who, since 2012, when I came back, I have seen so many successes in the young people. That includes Kaja, who she, uh, I've seen postings. I trust they're all true. First of all, she came back and was directing for us, but I've seen that other productions that she has directed. I'm so pleased to see that you're on a development team, or to hear that. And I would love to chat with you a little bit about that. It's probably a bigger scale than what we do, but at any rate, it's the same business wherever you're doing it. And I made the decision 4.5 years ago to move to the hills to do that job, that development job well. And I have whole new families of people. And I don't just say family. Every company is its own family. Every community that I'm involved with, whether it's Rotary or the Chamber, or I'm doing a gala for the women's shelter tonight, all of those people are my families. And so I feel very comfortable here. And I just love the Black Hills, and I love the Playhouse so much. And I will go, as I'm fond of saying, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Um, but I'll do what I can to help it go. And I cannot wait for the 80th. And I'm so excited about, even these have been so fun. I participated uh, as an observer on one, and I was a moderator for one. And just to see everybody's faces is just so thrilling. And to remember you, Kaja, being put into the show. I mean, that's huge. And Mark, you will be happy to know that we have monetized the Oleos, and they are a huge part of the Black Hills Playhouse. People absolutely love them. They cannot wait. Who's doing the Oleo? If I'm standing outside as people go in, who's doing the Oleo? And I tell them, or if I'm doing it, I always say, well, you'll just have to wait and see, and then they know it's me. But um, so I commit to doing one every year. And we sell that one at a premium. So if Jeff will write it and do it, you're gonna pay for it. So and nobody even blinks. They're like, oh yeah, no problem. Right. So those have become a revenue stream for the Playhouse. So thank you for that visionary thought that you had. And they're just delightful anyway. And it gives the young people, so that's how I try to do it. I try to give the young interns who are maybe only in the musicals, or maybe only in one or two shows, I want them to have an opportunity to showcase their talent in one other way for the summer, and they covet those opportunities. So that's a marvelous thing. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Emily, did you want to go next?
Sure. Um,
Chaos mean to you? And
One thing I will say, we didn't get to talk, and I don't want to take too much time, but 2014, I lived with Mark and Jeff, and let me just say, that was a epic summer in more ways than one.
Yeah.
I think we giggled and bitched more than any time in my entire life. And it was perfect. But in terms of what the Black Hills, I mean, like I said, it was love at first sight. When I came on the scene, it's just so gorgeous. But it's not just the nature that makes it beautiful. The people that make up BHP, past, present, and future, are just an incredible community of people. Um, they have been with me through my best and worst times, and I them. I watched the workmen's bring their little boys out to the playhouse, and then when I got to bring my daughter out to the playhouse, it was one of those full circle moments that, okay, I'm going to try to not tear up and get emotional, but like, it's a community inside and out, and I mean that in the best possible way, that everybody is looking out for each other, and everybody is in, and they would let my kid run around and be kind to them, and we are supporting each other to do the best work. And then professionally, it's my favorite place to work, period. It is, the people that are together are performing at the top of their game, whether it's the production team or the actors. Everybody wants to do their best for this institution that has given so much to them. So I had to take a break because my baby girl was tiny and I can't be in 4 places at once. But I did just email Dan and said, okay, 2 years is enough of a break. I want to come back, because to me, it's a part of my soul. And like Jeff, I want to come back as long as they will have me, and as long as I can be there. So, yeah.
thank you, Emily. Sarah or Kaja, thoughts?
Yeah, I echo the sentiments of both Jeff and Emily. It was love at first sight. This is the family. It is the people that make it. That yes, it's a magical setting, but even a magical setting can't overcome bad people. So the from the administration down to the interns, like this place cultivates groups of people in such an amazing way, and is so supportive of those people on their journeys wherever it is on that path, that I keep having to remind my colleagues, like, you have to go out and do other work. You have to go do it. I'm like, I will never not do Black Hills Playhouse. If you want me to come back and be a full-fledged human, you need to just let this go, because this is where I go do my work and I recover and I recuperate, and I realize that there are still places in this world where I can go do my work and just have that feeling of respite, that I know I'm going to be with a good group of people. I can trust that this is going to be the show that I want it to be, and that I can walk away feeling rested while also still doing this work that is a part of my soul.
Thank you, Sarah. That was beautiful.
Mhm.
Kaja?
Yeah, I mean, hard to top or not even just echo everything that everyone has already said, but I couldn't agree more. I think it's just, for me, it's really been this place of like springboarding me into my next parts of my artistic life, which has been such a like gift. I feel like selfishly, like it's given me so much. I have had all these relationships and these lessons, and I teach students now too at the high school level, and I feel like I'm constantly telling them, like, you got to go do summer stock because then you'll learn how to do this thing. And particularly at BHP, it was is a very particular special place that really, just like everyone has said, cares for the humans and puts the humans first. And I think makes really good art because of that. And it has just been like a central point of me and my creative life. And I feel so grateful to have been given the opportunities that I was from the Playhouse, it sounds like a lot of people have begged Dan for a lot of things, and I'm also one of them. So, like, thanks, Dan, for letting us just bother you to let us do stuff. But for everything that the BHP is and for the community, and I know as a person who has family there, it really is a pillar of culture and humanity in that community too. And so I just feel so grateful to be a tiny little part of it.
Thank you, Kasia. I similar to Jeff's story, when I came out after having been gone for 20 years, I was in a rough spot, transitioning to a totally new career. It was a big gamble because I was making a lot of money in advertising, and I'm like going to go into teaching, and like, okay, but what if I hate that, right? Well, then now what do I do? And I remember coming out, and I think that's one reason why Jeff and I bonded that first. He was one of the people that really I connected with. You know, we were older, you know, we'd been at the Playhouse previously. We had a lot of similar things. Um, and I remember, I mean, coming from LA to the Black Hills, where at night the sky is so dark that you can see the band of the Milky Way galaxy. That's how many stars are in the sky. And going up on the hill at night and seeing the aurora borealis from I'll never forget that night. And I remember going, if I had any questions about what I'm doing with myself, they vanished, because what the Black Hills Playhouse taught me and teaches me every time I go back is that life is about doing what you love with people you love. That's all it is. It's so simple, but it is so easy to forget that. You get in this crazy world and it's about your paycheck and how many people you know and these, you know, what's your rank and your title and all this stuff. And you lose your mind. And coming back, wow, it just centered me. And I did it 2 years when I came back. And both times I'm like, I'm just recharged. So hearing you know, Sarah saying like, no, I need this. And having that, it's kind of like before I came back to the Playhouse, just knowing it was there, knowing that there was this beautiful place that I could go to, just kept this little spark. And after I came back and I'd been there 4 years, I just vowed like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to protect the BHP. Whatever amount of time I have, I can't come back every summer and, you know, devote myself to selling tickets or doing the whatever, but I can be on the alumni. I can work with Jenny May and these other legends of the Playhouse. And, you know, that talking about, you know, Emily, the history of the Playhouse, like, I remember hearing about these names. I remember hearing about Jenny May for years, and then finally meeting him, like, oh, you're the one in those pictures in the, you know, in the snack bar, and you know, Damon Crawl, and like, there's history and there's legends, and you get to meet them and work with everybody and their family, and now I'm part of that, and it's just amazing. And so, what I always want to do, and I'm just encouraging everybody that is an alum, is even if you can just, you know, that alumni membership or whatever, doing your part to protect this really special thing. Because I think what we've also learned is things can turn on a dime, and beautiful things like this, they're not, you think it's forever. If we don't have all of us and people being vigilant, tomorrow it can go away. And so, you know, having these reunions and remembering and coming out and being a part of it and staying a part of it is so valuable. So Jenny May, any final closing thoughts? I want to thank you and Mark for getting this set up and helping us with your amazing history, getting us caught up. I want to thank Sarah and Jeff and Emily and Kaja for your time. Carving out a Saturday afternoon is really, really appreciated. It's so great to see you. Jenny May, any final thoughts before we close?
Just hoping we see some of you at the reunion. And yes, I know, Emily, do you get to come? Are you working? Are you guys
I am trying to make it happen. That is my goal. So I'm close.
Good. Kasha, are you in the middle of everything?
I am, but I know I'm going to be out there the week before, but I'm trying to see if I can zhuzh it a little so I can be there for the actual reunion. So
well, let us know. We'll put you to work.
Yeah.
Yes. And Sarah, how about you? Do you have any idea?
No, I'm not going to be able to make the actual reunion because my show will have just been opened and I've got to head
Oh, that's right.
home.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see you at the closing, at the opening of your show.
Yes.
Yes, good, excellent. Which is Come From Away,
Come From
and
Away.
that's where it's anchoring everything around Come From Away. Menno and I just saw it at OSF. It's such a great piece. It's such a
Beautiful
heartwarming
piece.
piece. It really is. We need that kind of theater right now. And thank you all. Thank you for your devotion and love to the Playhouse. And if you can make it, let us know, and we will put you to work, and we'll have a lot of fun. And thank you all. And nice to meet you, Kasha. I don't think we've ever met before.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, so wonderful, and nice to see you ladies again. And blessings all, and thank you. And now Mark and I go on to musicians. So we've got a meeting after this. Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for doing this.
Thank you,
Lovely
everybody.
to see you. And Jeff Kingsbury, the thing I'm excited to tell you is Jim Singlis, the designer from New York, is coming.
Oh my gosh.
So I can't wait.
That's wonderful.
I know. I can't wait. I'm trying to get a hold of Joe and Deb to let them know. And the old people will go, God.
Oh my
Much fun.
goodness, that's wonderful.
Yep. So anyway, everybody, thank you all. Thank you for your support of the Playhouse, and good luck with your theater this summer, and hope to see you soon, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Here's to another.
Bye.
Bye bye.